Howdy, partners, and welcome to Signals from the Frontline, your every Wednesday live broadcast brought to you here by Frontline Gaming. We are your hosts, Kicker, the chief of cereal and sigilite of the FLG, and I am Seth the Mad Doc, your competitive cowboy correspondent tonight. Kicker, bud, how you been doing?
Hi, y'all. How y'all been right now? I tell you what, it's been good down here in the South. Okay, South, why are we doing this tonight? What is going on? Is it
Mainly because you told me I couldn't.
I told you couldn't, and you went with it. So thank you. I appreciate the lack of respect, but that's okay, guys. Hey, everyone. This is Signals from the Frontline. If you're listening live, that's great, but you make sure you should be watching. Tune in. Sorry, I just screwed that up. I apologize. I can't speak. I've had a very long day. My wife is super pregnant, and I've been all over the place.
Too much that's all right, partner. That's all right. Now you just tell us.
Okay, guys, if you're listening, that's great, but you should be watching live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so you can be part of the show. The chat is awesome. We love you guys. Hi, everyone in chat. We see you. And more importantly, get the cool visual elements like my hobby progress here. Mr. Nicky D, our guru in the back. Can you bring down my hobby progress? I have been busy. Look at that, Seth. Do you see that? Do you see what that is?
Those are our beaties.
Those are our beaties, man. Our friends at GW
Space Cowboys.
I gotta say, man, I love these minis. I am such a sucker for shield walls in 40K. Whenever I can have a shield wall in 40K, I'm buying those minis and finding a way to make them work. And after reviewing the rules in the recent Lion book, I'm like, wow, they just may have some play in 40K. Are they going to be super competitive? No. But they could probably maybe have some sort of function. They've got a pretty good save, and they have
as long as you have a cyber mastiff, it counts as competitive for me,
dude. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you can get a dog on the tabletop, yes, you have to do it. I gotta say though, I think I'm destroying you and Nicky D in the hobby progress. This is basically week after week after week with unit after unit being completely totally finished. What about you, Seth? What have you been up to? Have you been painting?
I have, Kicker.
All right.
I've been just as productive as you. I finished 10 Gretchen. These are actually Station Forge 3D prints. Okay. And they do Gretchen in a bunch of different styles, so I've got more styles coming. And then I also went ahead and painted up this, which is a nice little statue of Captain America.
Nice.
Been working on him. So,
let's describe that for those that
it is a very rugged and stoic looking Captain America holding his shield in a kind of somber pose, but I like.
So you 3D printed this at your home, right? That's amazing. Like I mean, I'm not super savvy to being able to tell what's 3D printed versus what's not, but that doesn't look 3D printed to me. That looks like a quality miniature right there.
Yeah, it came out well, so I've been happy with it. I've been trying to just kind of print different superhero stuff to paint and sit on my work desk. And then I've been getting hyped for 10th edition. They've been making a lot of rules on the community page, so I've been super excited about that. But what about our good host there, Nicky D, in the background? What have you been up to, bud?
Hey, guys. So first, Seth, I'm going to note the Captain America print you have, that might actually be me. Like, it's got the mustache goatee look, the hair where it's longer on the top, that I've seen. That might be
let me pause you there, because I've been watching a lot of 3D sculptors, and there's definitely some guys out there that will put your head on a model if you ask them to. But someone's been working on an Eisenhorn sculpt with Henry Cavill's head.
Yes.
And I've been kind of waiting for that one.
Yes. Oh my gosh, please.
Yeah, that might be it. But aside from that, guys, I'll be honest, I've been doing a lot of house projects, so those are not hobby, but they are necessary. And then aside from that, I have been, if you're watching the show live here, you can see this picture. It's me staring lovingly at my Impulsor and my chief librarian Mephiston. I'm very excited. The rules updates that we've seen so far, we're gonna see. We're gonna see what it's like, but we're not going to talk about 10th edition just yet, because there was a huge update last Thursday with the long-awaited Dataslate for Warhammer 40K 9th edition. So with that, I'm going to put away the picture of me and my loving models, and I'm bringing on now our special guest. Oh, there we go. Folks, you can see him. He's popped up if you're watching the stream.
He's in the house. He's in our studio.
There we go.
We have the Archon Skari himself. Skari, introduce yourself to the audience in case some of them haven't heard from you before, although I do question how that's possible at this point in their 40K careers.
Hello, everyone. I'm Skari, all you newcomers that have joined in the bowels of 9th edition. I play Dark Eldar, and I have for many, many, many years. And so I'm excited to chat. We've got the Dataslate, we got stuff that's happening. Oh, I'm really pumped.
Yeah.
Skari, you are also all over the internet, and you're not only just, on the cameras, you're playing a lot of tournaments. Do you run any tournaments? I got to ask, do you run any tournaments?
I do. Well, I run one big one every year called
All
the
right.
Berry Bash.
Cool.
That one happens at the end of February every year. We just had our first one back after the pandemic, and it was the 9th one. So next year will be the 10-year of the Berry Bash, which was the first ITC ranked event in all of Canada when the ITC started, back before it was a thing, and there was like 30 people that played on the ITC. Oh,
Skari, do you realize that means the 10th Berry Bash will be in 10th edition?
Oh, mind blown.
Ooh, it's exciting. You know what? I hadn't actually thought of it that way. Now I'm going to have to make a poster.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're
man.
going to need t-shirts. You're going to need t-shirts. All right. So before we get into the meat and potatoes, Skari, we have to ask you an integral question here. We need to get to know you. Our audience needs to get to know you. And I have to ask this because it is in my contract. What is your favorite breakfast cereal? Ideally, it's sugary and will rot your teeth. But, no, we don't judge too harshly here.
Okay. It's a very close two between just straight up Lucky Charms.
All right, cool. OG Lucky Charms, I like that. Yeah.
And Golden Grams.
You see, Golden Grams is so underrated. More people need to, enjoy Golden Grams.
Delicious.
Golden Grams is delicious, but it loses its consistency real quick.
Yeah, you just have to eat it quickly, and then you have like a bowl of sugary goodness at the end. It's just great.
Right.
Golden Grams is a bit of a seasonal cereal, though. Like its prime time is when it's just chilly outside. Because okay, we're going into the weeds there, but I'm glad to hear that you and I
goes with your pumpkin spice lattes or pumpkin spice everything.
Yes.
Pumpkin spice Golden Grams, General Mills. The check you can just send that straight on in, guys.
It's like next thing you say that they'll do Peeps and Pepsi or something.
There is a Peeps cereal. I will tell you that does exist. I have tried it. It is terrible, but it is a seasonal cereal for Easter. 2 years now running. I believe Kellogg's makes it, but let's not go into those weeds there. But
we have a vote for the Golden Grams breakfast bar in chat.
There is a Golden Grams breakfast. Yes, that does exist. Golden Grams really is a staple. It's just been around forever. It's just people never talk about it. I highly recommend you guys go out there and try it. But
it's like
Seth, let's start this off with some really serious stuff here, right?
All right. Skari, you've consumed all of the data slate. Give us your thoughts on kind of how you think the data slate has affected the game going forward in our last few months here in 9th edition.
I love the fact that I think it's good. I think the data slate changed some things that were very, very oppressive. Let's not lie. Nobody liked playing against 50 Dark Angel Terminators with transhuman. That was just not fun. Like you just drool your way to the finish line.
Yeah.
And you're like, yay, I win. Yeah, like that's I don't know. As much as that's fun when you get to do it, it's not really fun for anybody else. I like the changes. Surprised with some of the changes. Some of the changes are too late, and some changes that needed to be done didn't happen.
Yeah. So just for kind of listeners at home, the big offenders, Kicker over there was one of the big offenders.
Oh, come on.
They changed a few things in Astra Militarum. The main things, removing the ability for the finial to have a ignore modifiers component to it.
That was the wrong nerf, okay? Yeah. That was just... Anyway.
I'm not complaining. I was happy that they chose to nerf that element of the banner. But the other big thing with the guard, Seth, why don't you tell them about the
overcharged las cells. They changed the wording on that to limit to the unit using stratagem can do a total of 6 mortal wounds, period, not 6 mortal wounds per target. So
it's still so powerful and well worth
those Karsakin only doing 6 mortal wounds.
They still kill things.
They
like point to something and kill it dead.
Thing.
Or maybe even 2. They won't do like 18 mortal wounds on average per unit per turn, which was ridiculous for the point cost.
Yeah. But what other big things though got nerfed though? Because it wasn't just guard. Come on, guys.
Dark Angels lost their inner circle bullet that gave them transhuman, and then they adjusted some secondaries for Gene Stealer Cult and for Space Marines, making them a little less efficient. So, Scar, do you think those nerfs, as they will, were enough?
For Gene Stealer Cult, no, because they'll just transition over to like behind enemy lines again to like get a consistent score. So that wasn't the issue with. Yeah, exactly, and they get their CP as well. That was not the issue with Gene Stealer Cult. Gene Stealer Cult are a whole other can of worms. They're just I guess it's towards the end of the edition. How in depth do you really want to go with that? And they're not like breaking the game; they're good, but it's like a fraction of the people playing it. And as for the finial, for example, to be honest, they should have just made it a pick a unit to get all of the buffs instead of having a giant aura from this like little command squad. Just like, I don't care how powerful it is, but if you can just pick one unit instead of everyone around it, you know what I mean?
That's a good point.
And then the Dark Angels and Space Marines, chapter tactics or whatever it's called.
Yep. Codex Warfare.
Codex Warfare. There you go. That one specifically, as a Dark Eldar player, it was like an auto 15 for my opponent. I've got lots of little units, and they were just going to score 15 points. Now you can still score it, but you have to play a little bit around with it. You have stratagems to put units into every chapter tactic, and then you can score it consistently throughout the course of the game with stuff. So there's like ways that you can all like max it out still, but it's not just as straightforward as I brought a bunch of heavy weapons and I'm gonna get max of 15 points. Yeah,
I think the bigger boogeyman in the Space Marine army lists were not. Yes, they could score that really well, but they were also just with some hyper efficient units.
Yeah.
And with the addition of the Desolators and their out of line of sight shooting, for squishy combat armies like us here, orcs and Eldar, hiding behind a wall was a great strategy that now is somewhat less effective.
Ooh, looks like chat's jumping in, guys. I gotta ask. Looks like there's no changes to demons, including their reliable secondaries, like reality rebels. What do you guys think? I mean, Seth, you got problems with it?
I don't have problems with it. Demons haven't been running amok across the meta.
They have like some hard counters. Like demons are good, but there are certain armies that will just mess a demon player up. Yeah. So, and those other armies are frequent enough that they sort of self-balance.
Keep them in check.
They keep that balance. It is a very good secondary, but even then, they don't have like 3 fantastic secondaries. Like Gene Stealer Cult.
And anything that brings a lot of volume ends up giving Gene Stealer Cult a problem, or not Gene Stealer Cult, Demons a problem. Like Kicker, if like a giant, angry bloodthirster walked up in front of your guard army, you'd be like, "Cool, bullets,
shoot him again."
Yeah,
using my banner. Damn it!
I brought a.
You don't even need your banner. You just need to throw bullets.
Die.
At it.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah, demons aren't like as scary, I guess, as they could be. Kelsey Ito says that the big nerf that we need to do to GSC is that we need to nerf Dustin Henshaw, one of their star players and a friend of the show. That would probably help. Just nerf that one particular player. I wonder if GW is going to start doing target nerfs like that. I could see that.
So I was listening to the guys at StatCheck, and they actually proposed an interesting theory with Gene Stealer Cult, which is Gene Stealer Cult is not necessarily broken. It is the Gene Stealer Cult players.
Oh,
because the players that are succeeding with Gene Stealer Cult are generally very strong players to begin with, and they probably would succeed in a number of factions. So it might be
crazy how interesting it is, right? That player bases for popular armies that can kind of dilute some of the potential. I don't know, you said the light, but a lot of people play guard, a lot of people play Space Marines, a lot of people play orcs, and it kind of change those win scores a lot.
Well, going back to the data slate for that specific point, so a lot of the changes are very impactful to like the sort of like the general population that plays Warhammer 40,000, but a lot of them, like any sort of changes that you see, like a good player will sort of sidestep any particular changes and will find something else that works, or will just kind of change factions or take a fringe unit that was like not the go-to, and then all of a sudden it becomes the go-to once a change comes into play again.
Yeah. So the other, I guess I missed one nerf technically, which was Custodes. And they nerfed Custodes by changing their Arcane Genetic Alchemy and Emperor's Auspest stratagems, that they can only be used on infantry, and you can't use both of them on the same squad. For everyone at home, that's no rerolls and transhuman. So you can't put those both on the same squad now. And they're limited to infantry only. What do you think, Skari? Did they need to get that thump on the nose?
when you have 20 wardens on the table and one has no rerolls against it and one is transhuman, and then you can still mix it with something like Shadow Keeper's -1 strength, like you still have a very tough army to get through. You know, I don't think it really changes that much. It just means that the Custodes player isn't running out of CP as fast.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a precedent for this before, because I kind of do like this, right? Saying that you can only do one or the other on one unit now. Like, I think that's kind of a cool fix. I don't know if it's necessary.
I'm just trying to think if there's a precedent anywhere else.
Well, it would be cool if, like, there is a precedent in Age of Sigmar. So in Age of Sigmar, when you have command abilities that are like your stratagems, right? You can't give a unit more than one per phase, and it lasts for that one phase. So you can't stack multiple stratagems on a unit to like buff them in ways that weren't intended, quote unquote.
Cool. Seth and I mean, you know, I have not seen anything on 10th other than what's been previewed on the mass scale. I don't think Seth has either. But at least it looks like to me from what's been revealed that really Age of Sigmar is providing a good framework for a lot of the changes for the upcoming edition. So
that's historical. Like back in 3rd edition, they released Cities of Death, and there was a lot of combat stuff in that supplement that ended up making it into 4th edition 40k.
Wow,
right. Cool. And then in 4th edition 40k, they had a lot of like combat stuff and like things, and then they added in like campaign books that then showcased a lot of the stuff that they added in 4th edition, and then they added, you know, random charge ranges to Age of Sigmar, and they tested that out for a few. I mean, not Age of Sigmar, Warhammer Fantasy. I'm so sorry.
Warhammer Fantasy,
and then they put that into 40k, so they cross pollinate a lot.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Let's circle back to the Dataslate real quick. There are some armies that got buffed, including one close to your heart. How do you feel about the buffs that came out there, Skari?
Well, core on Talos and Kronos again means that they're usable again. You know, you're going to see some people probably pull out their 9 Kronos, 9 Talos lists and do like Thick City again, where they just go around and just murder people. Since what was it, the Tyrannid monster list? What was the name of that one?
Yeah.
That one just kind of
Crusher
Stampede just totally destroyed Kronos and Talos in a lot of ways, but now that's not a thing.
Yeah, and now they've also buffed NIDS. They've removed the rare organism. They removed losing your synaptic imperatives when your warlord dies, and they got their adaptive physiology back, so they can actually adapt each game to their opponent.
That's a very powerful mechanic, by the way.
This is a great dovetail and directly what we need to ask. Skari, in your years of experience and wisdom, and seeing the buffs that have been out there, who are you supposed to be watching? You know, for the rest of the ninth, like what factions are going to rise to the top with these buffs, or you know, I mean, do we think it's the time?
I think Tau is underrated.
Tau,
well, their broadsides got core back.
Right.
Okay,
they did.
Like broadsides getting core back is very good. The amount of buffs you can put on a broadside unit when it has the core keyword is kind of ridiculous. And point for point, they put out a ridiculous amount of firepower. So like 6 or 9 broadside lists will do some work, and they'll just table you. So I can see Tau kind of like seeing a little bit of a bump there. You know, Eldar are just, regardless of what edition or what rules you're playing with, any sort of Eldar will have like a stake in the meta, you know, and when Guard receive a nerf, you know, Eldar always get better. So like even like a small nerf or Harlequins, for example, to not like ignoring the hit modifiers with Definial means that a forest or like a lightning fast reactions or whatever makes those mortars less effective, and anything that doesn't shoot you out of line of sight is just good for elves.
Yeah. Well, okay, Seth, we've heard Skari's thoughts. What are you thinking, Seth, as our competitive guru on the show every week? What do you think our audience needs to, you know, keep their eyes open for?
I still like Iron Hand Space Marines were strong before this. They didn't really receive much in the way of bad touches from the balanced Dataslate. So I still think you're going to see them. I think Gene Stellar called, like we said, the nerfs to them were easily kind of circumvented by different secondary choices. So I think you'll see those two kind of float to the top a bit more. But otherwise, I think the meta is in a relatively healthy spot at this point. We've got a lot of different armies making podium showings at different events. So I think it's kind of, once you get past those two big boogeymen, so to speak, it's anyone's game.
Cool.
And you can always get a path where maybe you dodge one of those two, or you get a good mission and some good rolls, and maybe work your way through those bad matchups. So I'm actually pretty happy with where everything's sort of leveling out to here at the end of 9, and excited to kind of see how the next 2 or 3 months go for us.
Nice. Well,
So-
9th is ending.
Yeah.
We can take a snapshot of the edition right now.
Yeah.
And just be like, this was 9th, right? And that's like the end of it. And to be honest, historically speaking, I've played 7 editions of the game so far. And going on my 8th now, this will be my 8th coming up. This is probably the most fun and the most balanced and the most varied and sort of like organically grown edition I've seen. So I've had a lot of fun playing this edition.
Well, so are you nervous about 10th? I mean, we're transitioning
Not at all.
to 10th. Okay.
Not at all. I'm reckless abandon. 9th out the window. 10th full bore. Let's just dive in. I'm excited to
Well, we'll save
go with
our
that
10th talk for a minute.
Yes.
We do have one more, like 2 more questions we need to wrap up before we get into 10th. The first is my counterpart to Kicker's cereal question. What is your favorite baked potato topping, Skari?
Cheese.
Cheese.
Yeah.
Just the cheese, man.
Cheese is good on everything.
Like you
Yeah,
just have to
true.
just shredded cheese, just like just delicious cheese, a little bit of maybe barbecue sauce on there or whatever to give it a little bit of tang.
I had some barbecue chicken on a baked potato last week. It was pretty good.
Nice.
All right, so we're going to get into our signal short, and then we'll hop into kind of the industry news, which is a lot of the 10th edition reveals there from Games Workshop. But before we get into that, Skari, you've got 30 seconds to answer the most important question. Let me wait. Got to get my timer ready.
Get your timer out. So you are
30
limited
seconds.
to 30 seconds.
Okay.
All right.
This is important stuff. I can't be just eyeballing 30 seconds. That's just.
Get my phone out right now.
I'll give you a visual with my fingers. All right.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, not 3 minutes.
Here.
No, we don't want 3 minutes.
No,
All
not
right.
3 minutes. You got 30 seconds.
All right. I'm ready. All right. You ready,
Okay.
Skari?
Yep.
What's the best unique character in the Drukhari Codex, and what is their favorite Canadian food, excluding poutine?
Not poutine, eh? Okay,
Yes.
so we have to extrapolate and take the 3rd quarter of the 4th moon in the 7th age. Okay, so the best single character from the Drukhari Codex is Archon Skari, because he should have his own special character since he's been around forever. And last but not least, his favorite food would be maple syrup.
All right, and he did it under the 30-second mark.
in
Good
30
job,
seconds.
man. Good job.
A little egotistical there, but that's
Hey,
okay.
Hey, I am an Archon. I've been
There is
alive
no
forever.
wrong answers in signal shorts, Kicker.
Oh, but he is correct.
He needs
though.
a model.
If you visualize this, maple syrup does seem like the correct food of choice for an Archon. Like that just seems like the natural fit. Yeah,
Just
totally.
pour it all. Is
All
this
right,
going to
folks.
be like a homunculus cult of maple syrup now?
Today, in the past 24 minutes of the show, we've talked about cereal, sweet baked potato toppings, and sweet maple syrup. So wonderful way to start the show. Let's jump into some industry news real fast, guys, because we have 10th edition on the horizon. We've got a professional that's been in this hobby forever. We have Seth. We've got Nicky D in the back, and we've got me that can kind of talk. Let's talk about 10th edition. What we know. We know weapons, weapon profiles. Seth, Skari, Nicky D, feel free to hop in if you want. What do you guys think? Seth, go first. New weapons. What we've seen for right now. Are you happy, disappointed?
They definitely have added a lot of interesting things in terms of like words like keywords like melta, sustained hits, devastating wounds, twin linked. So it's interesting because these look like they're all going to be universal special rules.
Yes,
which I know. Yes, exactly. Skari and I are both like, yes, we need more of that in life.
So why, Skari? Why are universal special rules special or important or something you want?
I don't care what the description is of my unit can be placed anywhere on the table that's more than 9 inches from your enemy unit. I don't care if it's Manta Strike. I don't care if it's jumping out of a Valkyrie. I don't care if it's teleporting. I don't care if it's tunneling up from the ground. I don't care if it's coming out of like crazy magic psychic power.
The line coming from the trees or something, right?
Exactly.
Or a yes.
Game mechanically, as a competitive player, being able to just remember it's deep strike.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And every army in the game that has a unit that has deep strike, you know what that means.
Yeah.
So it reduces the crazy amount of information you need to learn from like 20 different factions, you know? Anyway, I find it funny because like Jesse, who's Dustin's friend who they do Stutter Scrub, he was talking about it today, and he's literally I went to a tournament, and that's a Berry Bash, by the way, and he's like, I when I did something for my World Eaters Codex, I called it the name and the codex.
Yeah.
And it confused everyone.
Oh yeah.
Like no, and then when he called it something like, "Oh, it's just deep strike," people are like, "Oh, okay." But that's not a rule in 9th. So I'm really excited that it's coming back.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna phone a friend, Nicky D, coming in hot. What is your thoughts on the vehicles? We know they're tougher, and we know you're dusting off your transports. We're gonna talk to transports in a second, but I guess vehicles are transports. You can talk about them all together. I know you're excited about this. Please give us your thoughts.
Yes, vehicles. I am loving the updates, what we've seen so far about vehicles. The big thing that we saw was the increased toughness. So if you're watching the show, you can see on the screen we've got the data card, which we've heard that's going to be the new format. Everything you need is on the car. With so for the Rhino, as an example, going up to T9. Some of the other vehicles are going up to T10. Repulsor, I think, is what, T14 now, right? Something like that.
No, that's
T12.
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 Okay. T12.
T14 is reserved for my boy, the Stomper.
Yeah. So I think vehicles gonna be a lot tougher, gonna be a lot bigger for us to kind of work through. I think they're gonna actually act and feel like vehicles again, which is very, very exciting. So I'm very much looking forward to it. But I mean, Seth, what do you think this is meaning for your orcs?
Well, yeah, I mean the higher toughness is certainly interesting because it's definitely going to kind of stratify anti-vehicle weapons and anti-personnel weapons into more extremes. If I think they've already said that the strength to wound ratio in terms of what you need to roll has remained the same. So you're talking about, a bolter is not going to do very well into shooting into vehicles, and even like a heavy bolter or an autocannon is not going to do a lot of work into those heavy vehicles. So I do like that it's going to stratify what weapons we have to take. But the transport rules today,
yes.
Ooh, boy, did those get me excited.
Let's just be honest, guys. This is what transports needed to make them really viable, right? And make them more realistic. Drive your Rhino straight down the battle line, and then your troops can exit out and fire, at full effectiveness. That is awesome. That's what they need to make transports exciting. Skari, do you think this is going to be the addition of transports?
Well, the addition of transports was like 5th edition.
All right.
Okay. But so is this 5th edition 5.1, 5.0, whatever? Maybe. I love this, though. I think it just opens the game up. So even with the smaller tables, right? So like the tables this edition came smaller from a 6x4. So you had like stuff on foot was able to get places more readily and whatnot. But now you can like build, imagine like a Sisters of like Silence unit with all flamers, right? Yeah. And then running up like that Rhino and this being able to get out or whatever the transport and just nuking something that was like hiding behind. We can already see the power of that with like Tau, where they've got the stratagems that allow them to move devilfishes up and get breachers out and just nuke stuff at short range. Yeah. So it'd be really cool to see how that impacts the game as a whole.
And transports don't just have that cool, I think we're calling it boarding ramp or assault ramp rule. They have also got another rule that I know Seth was very stoked about. I think it's called firing deck. Yeah,
firing deck. Battle wagons have 22 ways to shoot you. It's so exciting. Firing deck. If you go back to
Rhino hatchback, like that is just the fact that you can just hop out from the back of the Rhino and shoot a guy with a last cannon or whatever. That's
I can't remember what the last edition. It had to be 7th or 6th was the last time we were able to have firing points.
Had it. right? Chimeras had it, Rhinos had it.
Yeah.
There was so many vehicles that
And,
had like a
they would
firing edge.
specifically state like, okay, only 2 guys can fire out of this one. So
Yeah.
you're like, cool. Most of my bolter guys are going to sit there, but I'm going to have my special weapon and my heavy weapon shoot out of this Rhino.
Back
so
in the
I'm
day-
excited to see that.
Back in the day, this is flashback. If you shot out of a Chimera, for example, or out of a Rhino, and you didn't have a 3+ armor save, for the next opponent shooting phase, the vehicle counted as open topped, which
Ooh.
then made it more vulnerable to enemy
Okay,
firepower
that's
because
kinda
they
cool.
didn't have like anyway.
Yeah,
that's
because the
that's a
shell
throwback.
could
Yeah.
go inside and hit the
Someone can throw grenades. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, no, it's exciting to see that. And they've also they showed us some of the rules in terms of how the units inside shooting out, how they're going to be affected by rules that may affect the transport. So in essence, guys inside that are shooting out, those guns count as being fired by the vehicle. So if you have buffs that are or debuffs that are applying to that vehicle, it applies to those shots, which cleans up a lot of kind of questions on how those things get handed around. So that was super exciting. I mean, I personally am dreaming of just like 3 battle wagons driving around, just drive by DACAing everything out of the field. It's going to be amazing.
And they're gonna have other fun rules, like the Chimera's got the fun rule where it can be a command vehicle, kind of like it is currently, where you can issue orders from it. And Tauroxes, I believe, are another vehicle that they called out that will be able to, I think, assault or advance.
The guys can get out after the vehicle advances.
Yeah, like that's cool.
So
Look how
fast.
fast that's going to move. The Taurox is already fast.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be able to help you get some angles around your opponents. They called out the assault ramp, allowing you to charge after you get out. So it definitely is going to transports in general just kind of tone down the killiness that you're going to face, because you have to activate to kill my transport, and then you have to activate to kill the guys that got out. So it just slows your opponent down, and so that just means that we get more of our toys where we want them.
All right, so
it's going to be, I like that kind of cat and mouse game going on there.
Transports, vehicles in general, exciting. Weapons look pretty cool. They're gonna have some good rules to make it streamlined. They're not just streamlining the weapon rules, though. We should talk about the streamlining of the phases in general of each battle round.
Phase.
Yeah, psychic phase and morale phase is gone. Skari, hot take. What do you think? Less phases, is that a good thing?
I like that they've streamlined it. It's shorter. It seems like it's more like, playing 30k, for example, your psychic powers, they kind of already do what they're going to be doing in 40k, which is they're built in as abilities or like weapons that you use. And it's nice to see them bring it back. It also takes away the whole, I don't have a psyker in my list, so therefore I don't participate in a whole phase of the game, part of the game, where like at least you can kind of relate that. And the fact that like, I'm interested to see how this new morale thing kind of works, like in practice, more than what they've just shown, right? Like it's going to be interesting, because nowadays it's like a weird thing where it can be very, very dangerously impactful to your army or nothing. Right? So it's going to be very cool to see how that works.
Let's ask chat. If you're in chat right now, tell us, what do you think? Is the new morale rules exciting? Do you think it's going to make an impact to the game more so than the current morale rules? Nicky D will be reading your comments, and we'll be sharing them. Seth, your thoughts? Morale, yay, nay? What do you think?
I'm interested in morale, because right now, just from what we understand from the rules in 10th and what we have right now in 9th, Skari and I are playing. Skari shoots. I have a unit of 10 Gretchen in the backfield. He fires some splinter cannons at him and kills 4 of them. Right now, I basically have to get through the 1 morale check. I might lose some dudes, but if I have 2 or 3 Gretchen left and they're going to sit behind a wall on an objective, they're going to be fine as long as he can't get to them. But now, if he were to do that and he were to shoot me down to below half, every turn, I'm risking those Gretchen not being able to hold an objective.
Yeah, and that's a big problem.
Yeah, so now if those guys were just hanging out in the back sitting on an objective, I have to go dedicate another unit to that objective if I want to guarantee that I'm going to hold it.
Yeah, Seth, why don't you explain for those that might not have seen the release how that's going to work? Basically, when you fail, how do you fail morale, and what happens?
So right now, the way from what we saw, it's every unit has a leadership value, and you have to roll over that. So, for instance, I think they showed intercessors were like a 7+, or a 6+ maybe. So on 2 dice, you have to beat that, and you have to take morale when you are below half strength, I believe it is, right? Yeah. And there might be some other conditions when you might take morale, but that's still a little unclear. But if you are failing morale, you lose all of your OC. Your OC now counts as 0, which is huge. Because that, from what we understand, that means you count as having 0 models on that objective.
Yeah,
which is bad.
Really
You
bad.
can no longer be affected by stratagems.
Yeah, that's
as
huge
well.
too, because I mean, like, think about it. You might need that linchpin model to do something, and suddenly now it can't.
And if you're going to try to fall back, you have to take what's called a desperate escape test. They haven't really gone too in detail what that is. So it might be something like desperate breakout, where you have to roll, and on certain values, maybe models die, or maybe it's I have to pass another type of test in order to be able to fall back. And if I can't pass it, maybe I stay in combat. But it makes that unit that much less reliable.
Which makes sense for like in a battlefield situation, like it's like that attrition, you know, where like combat units lose their combat effectiveness based on like casualties they've taken or morale issues or whatever. I will say this is a small thing, but I really like this. I like that it's consistently rolling high is good.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, in the past, it's like everything you need to roll high to do well, but like morale, no, you need to roll for morale. You need to roll low for morale. So now it's like you just need to roll high for everything.
Guys, the chat is buzzing like crazy right now. We've got Joel Atkins saying he's super excited for his Night Lords in 10th. That's huge. Dorian is not as excited about the changes to the psychic phase. Like, maybe Nicky D can explain why. What's going on there, man? Why is somebody not excited about the changes?
Yeah, so I don't know why the chat's not particularly not interested for the changes, but Skari, you're an Age of Sigmar player as well, so I think you can probably add to this conversation where in Age of Sigmar, typically, which we already kind of chatted about, a lot of things are taken from that, different psychers will have different powers, right? So different psychers do different things, and I can say for myself, even as a Chaos Demons player, there becomes a point where I'm only really wanting to use the same 2 or 3 powers every game anyways. So it's, to me, 9th edition with a lot of the psychic powers has been sort of an illusion of choice of, I get to pick my own powers. But really, you're using the same powers every time. I think some of the things, so the Oath of Moment for the Librarian being built in as an ability, I like, and then having a different ability that they can cast. I'm excited for it. Skari, what do you think? Is that a lot of the same from your experience?
Yeah, well, in Age of Sigmar, yes, you have like, especially competitively speaking, every wizard has their own spell, right? And sometimes it's a useful spell, sometimes it's not. But a lot of the times you see people bringing the same 2 or 3 spells, right? And you've got like the generic ones. To be honest, that transcends psychic powers. And whether you like it or not, like at a competitive level, you might have had 3 different D6 charts for warlord traits and 3 pages of relics and a supplement with a whole bunch of other stuff. And when you went to a competitive event, you saw the same 3 things every single time, because over people testing them, things become like noticeably more efficient or better or whatever it is for the meta, right? So I kind of like it. We saw that in boarding actions. They gave everybody like, you can take one of these 3 things as an enhancement, done, and you each get like 3 stratagems, done. And it works, you know, because at the end of the day, it's the stuff that you would have taken anyway because it's the better stuff, if that makes sense. And everything else sounds cool to read the little fluff blurb with it, but nobody uses it ever.
Yeah. Let me also just say, I understand like your concern, Dorian, but I think it's early for us to judge that this is going to be a huge nerf to Eldar and T-Suns, because we don't know design wise where they're going with those. We know those are psychic heavy armies, but from a lore perspective, Skari, from a lore perspective, how does a craft world Eldar fire his shuriken catapult?
They go like this, pew pew. Pew, pew.
They use psychic
powers
to fire their shuriken catapult. So there's a lot of things.
They say pew pew and it happens.
Yeah, they say pew pew, and that casts the power that makes the gun go pew pew. But that there's a lot of lore ways to take a psychic power and make it a shooting attack or make it an ability. And
back in the day,
executes on that, I think it could work out really well for T-Suns.
Destructor was a flamer.
Yeah.
Destructor was like a flamer template. If you did Destructor, it was literally like a flamer, and that was it. Your warlock had a flamer gun, you know, and that was from back in the day.
Guys, the chat is still hopping. It looks like Dean, he's TO of this weekend's Mayhem GT in North Carolina, is interested for a single model units now being impacted by morale effects. That is kind of cool how a single model will still be impacted. And then Seth, do you see Kelsey's comment there?
Yeah. So Kelsey points out that the changes to morale will allow you to do objective denial, but at range. Right now, objective denial, in order for me to take you off an objective, I either have to kill your unit or I have to put my OBSEC on your unit and out you. Now this opens up another avenue of objective denial. So I think that was a really interesting call out by Kelsey there.
Very interesting call out. Yeah.
At Kicker, let's move on from 10th edition for a little bit. Let's look at what's coming out this month.
Let's talk about this month now, people. Yes,
this week. Yeah.
GW pre-orders this weekend. We've got the Seraphon. These are the lizard dudes, the dinos riding dinos. Their Battle Tome and Vanguard box is coming out this weekend. These are sexy models, people. I mean, I don't play Age of Sigmar, but I'm going to start playing now. I want these models. I want to play them. I love the idea of dinos riding dinos with blow darts and bow and arrows and raptors. I don't know. It's just epic. And then we've also got some Adeptus Titanicus stuff. There's a campaign coming out. A campaign, I guess, I can't say that word, Seth. I can't say that word. Compendium?
Compendium?
Compendium. I promise I'm literate, but there's just
born and raised American right there.
Yes, and they've also got a conversion beam weapons. Adeptus Titanicus. I've never actually seen it being played. I do know it's played at LVO, and it's played every year at LVO since since the game came out. So it is a popular game. It is just not one that I haven't seen that often. But it looks like GW is still supporting it by releasing stuff like this. Let's phone a friend in. Nicky D. Nicky D, we need to know some nerd news, please, because I know that you are dialed in, especially regarding something very, very near and dear to your heart, The Mandalorian. What's going on in pop culture today?
Yeah, absolutely. So today is a big day, and chat, I'm going to be very upset. I'm leading this off with no spoilers in chat, please. Like, we need some sort of moratorium or, like, not sharing spoilers yet. Us on the show here are very excited for the season finale of Mandalorian. Last week,
I'm literally watching it after this. I'm literally going upstairs, getting food, and watching it.
Yeah,
Skari, I'm gonna message you after because my wife and I are doing the same exact thing. So really excited for that. Kicker, I'll expand on it though, because related to the Mandalorian and Star Wars, we have talked on this show, Frontline Gaming Network friend, partner, former FLGN show, Grim After Dark. They're really hype about this game, Star Wars Shatterpoint.
Yes.
The core rules were released this past week. If you want to see more information, there's actually a number of posts on the FLG website about this, and a number of posts from some operators that go through specific rules. Scari, I know you play a lot of different tabletop games. Have you looked into Shatterpoint yet?
I've not. I played Star Wars Legion, but I haven't played Shatterpoint.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you guys, Shatterpoint within the Legion community is getting a lot of excitement. We will be having Shatterpoint at LVO for 100%. You know, it's definitely happening. Amazing. For those of you that are not not aware, Shatterpoint's going to be more of a skirmish style, I think MCP version of Star Wars Legion, and it is looking really, really cool. Will it convert Legion players to Shatterpoint to Shatterpoint players? Maybe, I don't know. It does look like though that a lot of Legion players are going to try this game out as soon as it drops officially.
All right, Kicker, what's going on with some FLG events?
Oh yeah, okay, guys. So as we know, BAO is next month. We've just added MCP. After BAO, we have LSO. Oh no, ACO. Sorry, ACO in Atlantic City. Yeah, one at a time. So we got BAO, then ACO. This one's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. This will be our largest 40K event outside of LVO for sure. And we've added a few more events, but nothing too exciting unless you're really interested into some small game systems. But we've also got Lone Star open, and we added X-Wing and Armada, and it looks like those are likely going to be qualifiers for AMG's national event, which is a big deal. If you play X-Wing or if you play Armada, you want to go to these qualifiers, and we have been honored. It's not official, so I don't want to get too excited, but it's kind of official. It's said verbally that these LSO will be a qualifier for X-Wing and Armada. So we're adding X-Wing and Armada tomorrow to the Lone Star Open cart. And as of yesterday, I began working on LVO officially. Yes, I know it's April, and I'm already working on LVO, which will be taking place in January. I know chat's already asking when are the dates. The dates are going to be, January, like they always are. We're going to be doing a full release announcement in the near future. But yes, I began working on LVO 2024. And with that being said, guys, I need your help. I'm looking for anyone that wants to keep on running events like Shatterpoint. Give me an email at events@frontlinegaming.org, and I can set you to our event submission form.
Did you just try to get a TO for a game system that hasn't even released yet?
I mean, yeah. You want to know? Okay, I'm not bullshitting you guys. I got a request in on Monday from a guy asking to run the new Warhammer game, the old world game.
Old world. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, we have no idea. He's like, I'm ready to run this at LVO.
Dibs.
Yeah, like dibs,
Dibs.
exactly. Dibs. And I'm like, I don't know if I can. I mean, you don't even have a format yet. Like, we have no idea.
Sorry, no. I'm like, Kicker is thinking that far ahead. Like, this game
Kicker,
just
don't
doesn't
be a
exist,
square, okay?
but I need TOs.
Just give it to him.
Don't be a square. Can we just talk really fast? Are we excited? Scari, are we excited for Old World, or is this something that's...
I have like 3,000 points of Tomb Kings that are like super excited to be played again.
All right, Seth,
like,
are you pumped? Are you pumped for Old World?
Not at all.
Not at all. All right, Nicky D, what do you think? Are you pumped?
I will get some models for the sake of nostalgia. That Warhammer Fantasy, that was how I got into Warhammer.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to play it, but I will absolutely collect.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we will see. I know that a lot of people, especially people that used to play it, are excited. So we'll see if it gets a lot of new players into it.
Well, let's get into a little bit of network news, and then we'll wrap this one up because we're running a bit long here. So our network partners are always out there doing great things. The ones that I kind of wanted to let you guys know about this week, Steve Joel, our beloved Steve Joel, is interviewing fellow Canadian JT McDowell from Play on Tabletop. JT is like the narrator for all the Play on Tabletop battles. So I think we have taken officially the two like most soothing voices in 40K and shoved them into one podcast for one episode. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun to listen to. I've saved that one because I've got a trip coming up for the Mayhem GT. So I'm saving it for the drive. It might put me to sleep. I don't know. That could be a bad idea. That I say it out loud. I wanted to welcome Black Rabbit Gaming to the network. They've officially joined. They do live stream bat reps, and that's with some of the friends from the Las Vegas area. So super excited to have those guys. Today, Kicker, Play on Tabletop had one of their live stream, and it was the first live stream as our partner. So they had all that information out there. So if you were watching that today, I popped in for a bit. They had just a few viewers, about 700 in the middle of the day on a Wednesday. Yeah. But if you're over there watching any of those live streams, you can support them by hopping on over and using their affiliate link. And then our lovely, most hardworking man in 40K, Joe from War Games Live, he is up in the Northeast this week, and he's going to be at the Battle for Salvation, which is a team event, which I know the Archon here is a super fan of those events.
Absolutely. Also, Joe is a legend.
He is. Kicker.
Yeah.
You put up a bit of a spicy poll this week.
Yeah, we like to get controversial here on this show, and we wanted to know what people thought should be the rules cutoff for our events, for all the Frontline Gaming events, in regards to the 10th edition release date. How many weeks before?
Same week.
Same week, right? Okay, so we got three options. 3 weeks before the event, we will accept 10th edition rules. 2 weeks before, 1 week before, or the day before. I'm going to let Nicky D read the stats on what the percentages were of what people selected.
Yeah,
I'd like to change my answer to a day before.
The day before.
So our voting for the poll from the Frontline Gaming Community on Facebook, the lowest percentage was 7%, was 1 week before the event. To me, that's the sort of thing where this is my own editorial. Like, it needs to be either need to be a little bit further out or just rip it off like a Band-Aid. 1 week is kind of that,
And I think the votes reflect that.
Yeah, exactly. So the next was day before the event goes live and Live on the Wild Side. I think that may be something that's different for, say, a data slate, right? Like, Seth, I know you want to see this.
Nobody wants to play Oldhammer. Just don't do it.
I have to agree. No one wants to play the old stuff, but there's some logistical complications that come into play.
Yep. Especially where, depending on what you have for list submission, and if and it may be different with a data slate where there's not points changes, right? But there could be changes that drastically change the player's list. So 2 weeks before an event, that's my personal preference on it. But I'll say as well, it's different. Like an RTT, if it's an RTT and it goes live that morning, let the thing fly. If we're talking like a bigger event, maybe 2 weeks. But then actually and that got 30% of the vote from the community. But the highest percentage vote from the community with 37% was 3 weeks before the event date.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of us, Skari, Seth, you guys in particular are guys that go and play on the competitive scene pretty regularly. Kicker and I, we play events when we can, and we want to have some fun while we're out of the house doing that sort of thing. There's a lot of players that are, I don't want to say more casual, but they want to,
casually competitive.
Casually competitive, right? Where
like
some
winning
rules
is fun,
changes
right?
Make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Skari, you've been around and playing this game for a long time. I think there's been lots of fluctuations, right, with rules cut off, and
100%.
where do you think this kind of stands now, and especially as we go into 10th edition?
Well, I understand. Like, yes, I think 3 weeks gives you time, especially if you've bought a ticket, a plane ticket, a hotel. You know, and you're like you're kind of already bought into the idea of what it's going to be like to go there. Like you have that sense that kind of like upending like the list that you've been working on or like that you're practicing with, and then all of a sudden like having it change like 3 days before the event, and you just feeling like a little disenfranchised with the whole like, oh, now my unit that I painted is worthless, or the combo that I worked on doesn't work, or whatever. I understand that aspect of it. As a player who is probably too comfortable with change because of the fact that I've been playing for 24 years or something like that, nothing surprises me at this point. I want to play the day of, like when the stuff comes out, right? So I'm very biased in that sense.
So
but I
you also do
understand
have
the
a
perspective.
full inventory, Skari. You've been playing the same army for a long time. You can kind of pick up stuff and go.
Correct.
I think that the
I'm a
hobby
collector,
lag
right?
thing is something we
Yeah.
have to consider, right? Like
Yeah.
we have to accept that some people have to try and paint stuff, you know, because painting is part of the score, right? Like you have to come
Kicker, they got 3 months to start painting right now.
Yeah, right. Jeez, go.
Well, not only that, but I feel like it definitely, like, this is a topic for a whole other podcast episode where we could talk about the importance of this specific topic and whether or not you're a meta chaser versus somebody who collects a faction over multiple years, right? Because somebody who just meta chases, which is completely fine, okay? If you just want to buy the next best, coolest thing, paint it up in 2 weeks, and crush your friends for like 2 months or whatever, be my guest. If that's how you enjoy the hobby, awesome. But you know, I could see someone like that being more like wanting it to have more time to switch rather than someone who just has a bunch of everything who can go, ooh, now this unit that I collected 10 years ago is good again, you know, and then just adding that back into their list because they've just had it forever.
Flash kits.
Flash kits. Do we have any comments from the you know, all the people on social media that might have had, you know, interesting opinions or thoughts that we want to share?
Yeah, a little bit about everything. And Skari, I'll call it out real quick too that you, as you noted there, I think you just invited yourself back onto the podcast for a future for a future discussion topic on further, you know, hey, what is the right time and doing kind of changes that are there. So we'll I'll have my people reach out to your people about that. How about that? And it's just you and I that are those people.
I was like, wait, you guys got people?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have people.
Require a tithe in souls.
Yep. Okay. So things from the community poll, though. Patrick points out that while this is good in theory or concept, that judges need to be confident and know what the changes are and how that can impact it. So yes, us as players is one thing, especially with the new edition change, that's going to be even more prominent. So that's, you know, a good call out there. You know, and how that part is set. Hunter points out that, hey, with some changes that can drastically change what is good for list, and you may need to have, you know, go and buy new models that aren't available, and that can definitely make things difficult.
And the availability is a good point. Like even the book, the rule book, might not necessarily be easily available for everyone upon a release.
Or you know, the model, like the line.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And then final comment I'll point out. Kristen notes this, and Kristen's comment is it's going to depend on when lists are due, right?
Yeah.
When is list submission for an event? And generally, the bigger event, the further out that lists need to be submitted so that judges can make sure that they're done appropriately. And, you know, if there's going to be a change, you know, that's okay. But if people need to resubmit lists, you know, 2 days before they're due, that really might not be feasible, right? There's some of us that we may not have time to sit down and evaluate changes for rules over the course of 2 days. So it's not just is the list submission ahead of that date, but also does it give people enough time to evaluate the new rules? So Kicker,
all this logic is making me sick. I want to play with the new toys, and I want them now.
And I have to agree with Seth. Like and Skari, I personally like we know that a lot of things are out in the open before they are officially released. We kind of have an idea of where things are going a lot of times. I also I don't want to play an old edition. As soon as the rules are out, I want to play that edition personally. But Frontline Gaming, like we are the community for the community. We're going to keep on putting polls out there, trying to figure out what people want. So maybe we will get that release date, or we'll have an idea when that release date's happening, and we'd say, "Hey, here's the release date. Do we want to use this for ACO? Do we want to use this for LSO? See what people want." That's how we operate, right?
I empathize, but this is my hot take.
Go.
Suck it up.
Just paint faster. Just there are guys at all of our events. Like I see them every morning that roll out of bed, completely exhausted because they stayed up all night long painting those last few miniatures just to get them battle ready. So we might see a lot of that right after.
You're saying people have jobs and have to do stuff other than hobby? Oh my goodness.
We can't all be like you, Skari.
Hey, so guys, speaking of hobby, Seth, you want to introduce our hobby work in progress from the community?
So let's take a look at what some of the community's been working on before we send this one away. So normally when we do this, this post is done by Adam Peterson. And he was working on a Soulblight army. I beat him to the punch this morning with our Work in Progress Wednesday post. Yeah. But he did post up that he's been building a bunch of Soulblight. So, I showed him off here. So good work, Adam.
Seth, explain people where people can share their hobby progress.
Yeah. So if you want to show off your hobby progress and maybe get it on the show here, go on over to the Frontline Gaming Community page, post it up there. You can post it up at any time. I'm usually going to be posting on Wednesdays, and that's the easiest way for me to find you is you just drop it in the comments there. But if you post up whatever you're working on throughout the week, we all love to watch what everyone's working on. So if you get it done and you want to show it off early, post it early. I do scan back from like this week to last week to see if anyone posted anything as well. So that's always a nice way to show off what you've been working on, and you can post it up over there on our Facebook page.
But we like it's also like just fun stuff to go back and see what everyone else does. Like I go through that post, and that's one of my favorite posts to see each week is to see all the cool stuff that community members, a lot of them are my friends, like what they've done, because we got some serious talent in this group here. So Seth, did you see anything this week that really stood out to you?
Well, Kicker, you do prizes at events. This is in chat. We have Dean Pritchard from the Mayhem GT. This is just some of the prize support he was working on. Wow. All these purity seals. He's also working on a giant chain axe that makes the one that I took to LVO look sad.
Oh, geez. Nicky D, describe these purity seals. Is this like life size? What do you think?
I've actually got some purity seals in my closet next to me from Dean and some of the guys. I come from North Carolina. So I can tell you, Dean and some of the guys that are there are very much part of the reason why I'm into 40K as much as I can. Last year was their first event for the Mayhem GT. They ran a fantastic event, great community, great group of people. I'm very jealous of Seth because he gets to go. I do not, so I'll be very sad. Seth's going to hang out with some of my favorite people.
I'll just post pictures for you all weekend. I'll just text you constantly.
Yep. But they do great prize support, both in terms of models and other things like that, but then also these are, again, for people that are listening to the podcast, they are purity seals with specific written out text, different things for different factions. They do great support for people on the hobby side of it. So painting, everything else like that. They do a fantastic job. So if you're in North Carolina this weekend or around North Carolina, I don't know if tickets are still available for that, but go check out Mayhem GT if you can.
Cool. We got some other awesome miniatures we can show off this week.
We have one more to show off this week. This last submission is from Max Steele, and this is his Hydra Dominatus. This is some amazing work. Mac does amazing work. I've seen a lot of his armies. But fun fact about Mac, he's a friend of mine, and he has a legal nickname, I guess would be the term, or legal alias of the Beat Dominator. So I love Mac's work. I think he was supposed to be going to Mayhem this weekend, but life got in the way. I tried to kidnap him, but he's a big man and he can't be taken that easily. But he did, as you can see, do some great hobby work. So thanks for showing off with your models there, Mac.
That looks really cool.
But that is all we have for this week. Skari, we really appreciate you coming on and helping us keep some perspective about all these changes. Final thoughts from the night from all of you guys.
Well, Skari, before we sign off, where can people find you in the future?
Well, the best way to find me is on YouTube and Patreon. That's like the best way. Skaredcast. I do bat reps and videos and a bunch of other stuff. Hey, come hang out, and if you need anything, just send me a message on like Instagram. I literally respond to like pretty much everything.
And you do this full time, right? This is your full-time gig.
Yeah, I've been doing content creation for 4 years now.
Sweet.
This is coming on 4 years, going on 5 now, and I'm not looking back. It's fantastic, and I hope to teach the community something, and I hope you get value out of what I do.
Awesome. Well, Mr. Skari, we're very honored to have you on our show tonight. Seth, Nicky D, I got to tell you guys, I played an RTT this past weekend, and I am so stoked to find my next tournament. Like as soon as we sign off tonight, I'm going to go start, searching where can I go. Hit me up if you're in the South.
If only you knew some TOs.
If only I knew some. Yeah, if you're a TO in the South and you know me, just text me, tell me to come to your event because I am ready. What about
Canada?
Go to Canada. That's a long drive. That's a long drive.
It's fine. So
you don't have to drive everywhere, Kicker.
I like to drive.
You make these things called planes.
Nick, what are you up to, man? What's going on with you for the rest of the week?
I have a bit of personal travel, so some personal time off, some PTO. So I will be away from home, and I've got some work travel. So I'm tying the PTO with work travel out on the West Coast, so I'm very excited for that. But that means, folks, I will not be here on the show next week, but rest assured, I will still be active in the FLG community Facebook page. I'll be asking about hobby progress along with Seth, and I will be instigating hot takes for 10th edition based on the latest that we have. So I'll see you folks in 2 weeks or on the Facebook page.
Awesome.
Well, thank you again for joining us, Skari.
Oh, thanks for having me. This was great.
Having you on.
Thanks
for joining us in the chat. We enjoyed chatting with all you guys. But thank you so much for joining us here. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of Signals from the Frontline. Have a great week, and we will see you down that dusty trail there, cowboys, next Wednesday.
Good night, guys.